myself.
That's not the best first line.
Oh my God.
Am I doing myself?
Oh my God. Mark won't have known what happened yesterday on Loose Women.
What happened on Loose Women?
So in America, who watched Loose Women yesterday and watched me put my foot in it? I'm surprised you didn't see it. Apparently it went everywhere on Twitter and everything.
No.
So in America, they now have an adult in McDonald's. They have an adult toys kids meal.
Happy Meal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can get like a Big Mac, you can get chicken tenders, you get a collectible toy.
Oh, fantastic.
And hopefully you don't get apple slices. But anyway.
Austria was the flag.
Austria. Oh, thank you. Austria. Thank you. So I'm chatting away saying, oh, I'd love it. And, it's great. It's not like a kid's one. You could have a Big Mac. You could have an adult toy. I didn't think anything of it. Judy said my face was a picture because I just said it. And we had this filthy-minded audience and they all burst out laughing.
Let's just pause for a second. I don't believe you ever have a dirty-minded audience at Loose Women.
Well, yeah, no, we did. Anyway, so then everyone was tweeting and saying, oh, God, it would make such a good idea. McDonald's should put an adult toy in the adult.
A muck rabbit. A muck rampant.
But Judy said my face was such a picture because I really hadn't thought of it like that.
A muck bunny. Muck condom.
Gabrielle, so do we. We have everything delivered as well. We've just discovered you can even have 5 Guys delivered. Not a good thing to know.
Good morning, everyone, Gabrielle. So you put your foot in it with an adult toy. I have got
a real sore throat.
It's all right.
I put my foot in it with a...
At least you didn't. You put your foot. You did. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. We've rented a house on the Norfolk Broads for the weekend. So peaceful. Oh, God, I'm so jealous.
Hi, Lee. Hope you're well. Hi, April. Hi, Ali Watts. I'm trying to exercise my eyes, which is why I've pushed the screen a little further away. I'm trying to read. And I can actually read. So unique. Muriel Roberts, Claire Hayward, Moira Instance. Hi to Perth in Australia.
Oh, So Unique wants a birthday song for a little boy, Jake, who's 8.
Break with tradition and
yeah. Hang on, let me just get my throat. Both of us have got a sore throat.
Jake.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jake. 8 today. Happy birthday to you. Squash tomatoes and stew. Poo bombs.
I was just listening to something on Radio 4 this morning, which was really funny. And it was that Reverend Thingy Coles. And they were talking about when you were at school, how everything was so dramatic. He really reminded me of something that used to happen. He said, do you remember when at school, if you hit your head, you never just hit your head and grazed it, you split your head open. And every single injury at school, people go, he split his head open. Or they run in and go, I split
and
my
nobody
head
ever
open.
did split their head open.
But
we had people in my school, I can beat you on this, did split their head open. We had the most unbelievable climbing frame, right?
Oh, wow.
So what it was concrete spiral staircase with big gaps like that, with no handle, no banister. And then you would go up and slide down.
People would literally split their heads open.
My mum banned us. We weren't allowed to go on it at all.
Well, she wasn't at school when you did it.
No, but it was in the front playground. So she said one day I could just be walking along and I'd see you and you'd be in really big trouble. So I was literally terrified of my mum seeing me. Anyway, I was glad my mum banned me because it was petrifying. But people regularly split their heads open.
Well, and also, on that note, we used to also get quite a few heads split open in our school too. But I've told you about the time in a design and technology class where a friend of mine slammed a chisel on the table. And where the metal bit of the chisel goes into a wooden handle, it goes to a point. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
He slammed it. The metal part of the chisel flew through the sky. The pointy bit landed in a girl's head as she was walking out of the classroom, and it just waggled. She had to be rushed to hospital, had an X-ray scan. It was like that far from. So she split her head open.
So
me too. I actually did fracture the front of my skull riding my bike into a metal gate. So you split your head open.
So everyone split their head open.
I do love it. It's always very dramatic. Well, here, right.
I just took feel really well.
Oh, sweetheart.
Yeah.
She's had a tough week, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
No, I'm all right.
Everyone, send her a hug emoji. Come on, everyone send our Nads a hug.
Right. It's Saturday, so it's Papers
All right.
Day.
Ignore my gesture of great warmth from
Thank
everyone.
you, darling.
I'm going to lead because, as is the way, I've generally got more stories. Oh, look, Reese says my friend Jaden at school didn't split his head open, but once had a pigeon poo on his head, and he had an afro, so it was very messy.
Bless him. I'm just going to heat up my coffee.
I had a member of an ex's family was once hit by seagull poo on a beach. And seagull poos in Cornwall can be so big. And as she was running towards me on the beach, she was running, and I saw this seagull fly over her. I saw the poo descend. It hit her between the shoulder blades on the back, and it literally drove her to the ground, flat on the floor. I've never seen anything so funny. But she was concussed by seagull shit. So she nearly had her head split by seagull shit. But whilst Nads is over there, I'm just going to pop up the first story. 4 candles. The front of the Daily Star has gone with the really funny phrase that the 2 Ronnies came up with in that sketch. 4 candles. Candle sales have soared through the roof due to the panic surrounding blackouts.
Carol McGiffin was saying that yesterday. She said she's bought loads of them, and she said,
Loads
and none
of
of you will be
candles.
able to get them. We've got those battery operated ones. I love them.
Shoppers, but they don't give any light.
They do.
Shoppers have started bulk buying in scenes that the Star says spark memories of the 2 Ronnies' famous 4 candle sketch. Candle suppliers have warned that they are running low. Candles wholesaler Christopher Keneally said all week has been slightly up, but today is 50% up. We've talked in the week on a couple of coffee mornings, I don't know if you did, about the kind of, there's almost a nostalgia for blackouts.
Well, yesterday we were really mindful of that because, of course, there's people that are very, very scared about that. Imagine being on your own.
No, and also people with medication.
So so I nodded my head towards that yesterday. Of course, still people on Twitter have to say, "Oh, I'm going nostalgic," when there's no. I did caveat the fact.
There are some people who have medications that need to be nostalgic.
And of course, when you are having any nostalgia, you're also aware of what the current situation is. But I don't see why people have to get so angry on Twitter. It's like, I mean, I literally said, before I said anything, I said, now, obviously, this is very scary for people that really need their electricity for all kind of other ideas, other than, charging their phone and whatever, and people that live alone and elderly people. Said all of that. And then I went, but it got us thinking about nostalgia, about power.
Do you know what? We live in an age where providing a caveat gives fuel to the criticism. If you flag up what is potentially wrong about what you're about to say, do you know what everyone will do?
They just go mad anyway.
No, you've given them the bloody evidence.
Actually, James O'Brien is very good on this atmosphere at the moment. He said, they have so cleverly turned people against each other and turned people against their neighbours so that we're never, ever seeing what they're doing. Everyone's angry with everyone else when we have to stay consistently fucking furious with this fucking government. Sorry.
Hold on. Okay, let's pull up your first story. There you go.
Right, now beat diabetes with NHS diet. Prescription soup and shakes could reverse 500 cases a week. So this is a soup and shake diet that's being offered to people with early type 2 diabetes. And people, obviously, they're on 850 calories a day diet, and they are losing, stones very quickly. Now, I would imagine anyone that knows me well or follows me on Instagram or regularly on here would think that I would say, well, this is the most terrible idea, 850 calories. And I actually don't. I actually think it's a really good idea, because I think when you're really overweight, it can be so difficult to start by losing 1 to 2 pounds a week. It really, really can. And to really feel like you've lost a big chunk of weight quite quickly can then give you the impotence and encouragement to carry on.
Impotence?
Not impotence.
Jesus Christ. It's more the impotence to carry on.
Impetus.
Impetus
to carry on.
You're right, got you.
And I mean, it's very, very. Did you have the other piece that I said?
No, sorry.
Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah,
I've kept it though. Yeah.
So I mean, they are very, very excited about this in the medical world, and to the point where it's very rare that a scientific discovery is truly game changing. That's what they're calling this. They are reversing people's type 2 diabetes. We spend, where is it? Something like 10 billion a year, 10% of the NHS budget is spent on diabetes. Now, diabetes is a devastating, my dad has diabetes. It's a devastating diagnosis. People don't really understand, people that don't have anyone close to them with it or have had it. It affects every single part of your body. You do not want diabetes. And if there is anything that can help reverse it, I mean, obviously people born with, with type 1 diabetes, it's such a tough disease, isn't it, Carr?
I really do feel says type 2 diabetes is controllable and reversible by diet anyway, and has been for years. So I'm not sure where the headline is.
Well, the headline is that they very quickly get people to lose the weight very quickly, so they're not even on that trajectory. That's what they're talking about.
Do you know what I think someone needs to do? Someone needs to do a pie chart of the NHS, given that it's under such duress, and look at all of those aspects. So, for example, alcohol consumption causes I'm not just talking about liver failure, heart disease, and the cancers that alcohol causes, which is massive, but also the injuries, the pressures on A&E. Going to any A&E department on a Friday night or Saturday night is diabolical. I think someone needs to do a detailed pie chart.
I'm sure there is.
And then what the government needs to do is go back to good old-fashioned public health information policies, which push for a reduction of alcohol or smoking or all of these things.
Well, I think this is kind of what they're doing with diabetes, isn't it? Almost 4.1 million people in the UK have either type 1.
Good shit, lollipop. Don't do a pie chart. I might get eaten.
Type 1, which is usually genetic, diagnosed early in life, we know, or type 2 diabetes, which accounts for the majority of diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is mainly lifestyle related and develops over time. This figure could rise to 5.5 million if trends continue. And for the individuals, we don't want that because it's so tough. I'm watching my dad dealing with it over the last 30 years. Hasn't been nice. And also just the expense of it. So, of course, if this can really make a difference, people losing 2 stone and then but as always, my thing is, how do you then help those people transition into healthy, moderate eating, and how do you help people with the emotional side of overeating? So I really hope that that's in place for after they've had this initial quick weight loss, which, is very good physically. What are they going to do about the mentally? It doesn't say anything
about this. Jogging jelly, the longer you have it, the more cell damage is done to cells. So it's better to get the weight off quickly.
Get it quickly, exactly.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, I really, really hope there's some sort of plan for after that, because you're not going to stay on soup and shakes forever, are you? Feeling
ill, I am. You're 3 times likelier to have a cold than COVID if you're feeling ill. So anyone feeling under the weather at the moment, as I say, you're 3 times more likely to have a cold. According to figures, there are currently 216,000 new cases of coronavirus a day. 216,000, which is a rise of 50% in a week. COVID is going up. But experts predict COVID will pass the record 350,000 daily cases. So we're going to have the highest daily increase in COVID very soon.
And it's mostly at the moment in over 75-year-olds. 1 in 40 over 75-year-olds have it.
Yeah. Tim Spector says most people, however, if feeling ill, I've done tests, have a cold. We're seeing levels we haven't seen since October last year. And off the back of this, there was another little story that I thought was quite fun. The etiquette of colds, why health lessons learned from the COVID pandemic are not to be sneezed at. And here are some, there's me on the sofa this morning as I woke up, really blown. Oh, can I just say on this story, I slept on the couch tonight because I didn't want to wake Nadia up in the night. And I, in the middle, I had lockets alongside me, a packet of lockets, lozenges. I went out to get the papers and I came back and I went to get a locket and I couldn't find them. And they were
guess where they were.
Try and guess where
where
do you think the lockets were?
Who had got the lockets?
Where do you think the lockets had
Come on. Who's the person that's going to guess where the lockets were?
See if you can guess where the lockets had gone. A card to the person who first guesses.
Yeah, a signed card.
A signed card.
Well, not first. The first one we see.
It has to get a Sarah Fox. You're not exactly. Oh no, sorry.
Leap year.
Yeah, Sarah Fox.
He doesn't want a bloody card.
So I went into my room and there were 6 lockets taken out of the packet and spread on the floor individually.
She'd eaten one.
One of them was unwrapped and gone. She'd unwrapped it.
She obviously didn't like it.
No, because the other one had just a canine tooth puncture through the middle of it. Because I picked it up and I went for that one and it fell apart.
She's such a kleptomaniac. She's so funny. So funny.
So when it comes to etiquette, guys, toffee, don't nick my fucking
who did
lozenges.
you call out in the end, just so it's not confusing,
Who did
to
I
win the
call?
card?
Oh, Sarah Fox.
So email Michelle with your address and just put in the
so here
title thing card.
Yeah, here are some of the do's and don'ts if you're feeling unwell. Do's: keep your distance from other people. Wear a good quality mask if you have cold-like symptoms and can't stay home. Regularly wash your hands with soap and water. Ventilate shared spaces. Sterilize frequently. Close the toilet seat before you flush, as what you are flushing is aerosolized.
That's why you shouldn't keep your toothbrush in the downstairs loo, Mark.
The don'ts: shrug off symptoms such as a sore throat. Don't do that. Don't assume if you tested negative yesterday, you're not today. Don't leave tissues or COVID swabs lying around. And don't assume other people will be fine if you give them COVID, because of course they will.
Yeah, exactly.
So just important reminder there.
Right, so, oh God, I know I go on about this a lot, but I really do. I just hate it so much. So biting's 10 times more. Oh no, that's not the headline. So this is time for action on danger dogs. This is the Mirror setting up this campaign, and I am 100% behind this. Look at that dog. Oh, terrible case of this elderly woman. This elderly woman who was killed by these dogs. Now, there's this particular park.
To be fair, that is a little bit like the photographs they take of all you people off the telly when you're sort of on a downward beat and your face looks awful.
Now, this particular park in Merseyside, but I know that there's plenty of these across the country, because you're always seeing things on social media, aren't you, about people being terrified of their dogs. Now, this park, what's it called? Stat Mowers Park. They use regularly this grandmother is calling them bully boys, regularly use it in the evening for breeding, for fighting. And sometimes we go to our park, don't we, and we see dogs being trained to fight, and it is so intimidating.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, for me, it's as dangerous as somebody walking along with a gun, off the lead, children running around. And she was talking about just the other week, this dog ripped another dog's throat out. The other dog needed 500 stitches. Absolute miracle that it was still alive. But she said, could just as easily do that with a child. So they are calling for an overhaul of the Dangerous Dogs Act. And this has been going on for years. People have been calling for a review over this because, other countries manage it. So they want to bring into law requiring owners to register certain breeds of dogs which could be potentially dangerous. All these laws are in place in France and they work quite well, apparently. But the trouble is, if you're the sort of dodgy character that's breeding dangerous dogs and getting them to fight and train, are you really going to be bothered about registering your dogs? I don't know what the answer is.
Reese Roberts says, I like dogs, but I think we forget that over centuries we've domesticated what is still at heart and in their nature wild animals. Emma Carter, hi, my darling. I had a dog try to attack my little dog years ago. I had to pick her up and it kept jumping up at me. No owner around, terrified. You do see
Well, they do say, our trainer said, don't pick up a small dog. This is, you would never think this.
What if you're worried it's going to be eaten?
Because apparently then the dog that's attacking sees it as a huge dog and goes even really mad. I said, what are you supposed to do then? Just let it be killed.
Yeah, like Lindsay Neal says, it is the owners, it's not the breed, unfortunately. The thing is, when you go into a park, you can tell from a distance when it's what's going on. It's usually sort of youngish blokes with dogs on short leads, and they're all kind of standing opposite each other, really oddly, not talking, with their mobile phones and dogs nose to nose. And also sometimes you can go through the park and find enormous tree trunks that have been used as kind of training for them to attack.
They say here you have all these bullies going around these pit bull crosses and they rule the roost. They do what they want to do. When you have a dangerous dog walking a few feet in front of you with no lead, they get buzz out of it.
Yeah, the danger is I do actually find the danger is to other dogs. I thought this would be one for you. Bake Off, which we haven't been watching, and I hear a lot of people aren't watching. Bake Off has has hit something of a sort of storm, literally, off the Gulf of Mexico. Bake Off's Mexican skit, Tex the Mickey, Hosts, jokes, anger fans. Complaints have come into an offensive Mexican week with fears that it could even harm relationships with the country. A lot of viewers were very unhappy with this week's Tex-Mex style show. Lots of jokes about Mexicans. The British Mexican Society branded the stereotypes irritating. They said it's unhelpful when we are trying to establish better relations with a country such as Mexico for trade deals. This goes to a broader story. I mean, that is...
I'm quite surprised they were allowed to. I mean, TV is very, very, very... I mean, everything has to be gone over and you have to think about everything 10 times just in case. So I'm really surprised.
Well, actually. But it's funny though, because I do think Mexican culture is often seen as it's a little bit like, I think for America, it's a bit like the Irish were for us. I think it's often seen as all right. And I guess, if it's not all right for one culture, it's not all right for another. This is in the Guardian, where people were saying that it's caused anger because Mexico is one of the most misunderstood cuisines. It's often seen as something quite throwaway and easily adjustable, and so Thomasina Myers, who we know, who runs the Oaxaca chain, I have to confess,
that well-known Mexican chef.
She's not Mexican.
She's about as Mexican as this mug.
She said Mexico's food is one of the most misunderstood cuisines out there. Well, partly because I had a dish there once. It was fucking disgusting.
I mean, why have they got Thomasina Myers talking about it? Why don't they have a Mexican?
Classic Guardian.
That's right.
That is classic Guardian.
I mean, that is classic.
Classic Guardian.
I mean, I get so annoyed about this, like with Middle East. I do understand it. I do understand when you have somebody terribly talking about the wonders of hummus.
I remember losing your shit when someone from Surrey once made hummus.
Yeah, Waitrose, because they brought out this new line of hummus from this woman who was from Somerset. And her story was so interesting on how they discovered hummus. Well, first of all, you can't even bloody say it. I'm so annoyed that wasn't my line of hummus. Don't get me started on that hummus.
On the edge today. I'm just going to do another one just because I've got a few more than you. And I think you'll like this one. How we fell back in love with butter.
I never fell out of love with butter. I love butter.
You'd say that. We like it hit, whipped, and honey drizzled. We whip ours in a KitchenAid until it becomes like meringue, says Chef Nicholas Balfe. Why?
Till it comes like meringue.
So this is about mixing. I have to confess, I think the greatest butter I ever had in my life was in Iceland.
So good.
With kind of volcanic salt
Every ingredient we had in Iceland, though, was the best ingredients, wasn't it? The lamb, the vegetables, the salt, the bread, the butter, everything was divine.
Guys, I can't do a poll on StreamYard as easily, but is it for you salted or unsalted?
Salted.
I mean, it has to be salted. I mean, the girls almost scoff and look aghast if we ever suggest unsalted. They're horrified. But there's nothing.
Mark makes a really big point. If I accidentally get unsalted, he slathers on the unsalted and then gets salt and puts the salt on the butter.
Salted.
You eat way too much salt, and one day you're going to regret it.
What do you think of these kind of fusion updates to butter?
Must be as hard as the lead pipes in the house.
Butter with feta in it. Butter with roasted flaked almonds. Butter with chili, oregano.
Oh, for God's sake, just butter on
kimchi.
Oh, God.
Roasted garlic.
Why does everybody always muck about with everything?
Toasted pine nuts.
Just butter.
Just butter. Just butter and salt.
Oh, don't. You started me on crumpets.
Oh, my God. And that photo, guys. Look at the lob of... Do you do the butter right to the... You've got to do the butter to the edge of the bread.
That looks horrible. Bread looks dry and there's not enough butter on it.
I'm so pleased you said that. I was trying to get us excited and actually it looks as dry as a...
That's wanky bread and butter,
That's butter wank.
That's full-on middle-class wanky bread and butter.
Butter wank. Okay.
No, don't say
that. What? Okay. Right. What's your next story?
So Jimmy Carr is being sued by his own dad. No. His dad's sick and tired of him using him in his jokes, and now he's written about him in his memoir, and he's suing him. First time Jimmy Carr's ever been sued. Apparently, last year in his podcast, he says, I haven't seen my dad in 21 years. You know the line, my mother's dead and my father's dead to me. Which sounds very cold until you meet the guy. So he obviously absolutely can't stand his dad.
Well, I guess, regardless of what his dad's like, you've got to, you know, I mean, what do you think, guys? Is his father right?
The businessman dad has been in 2-decade-long conflict with him. He says he's a businessman and he keeps saying terrible things about him and it affects him.
And it's affecting his reputation.
He says Jimmy's snide comments have been going on for years, and the straw that broke the camel's back was when this new book and some of the things he's been saying on his podcast. I mean, I think if you haven't seen someone for 21 years, I don't think it's right. I think if you've got an issue, I think you talk to that person. I don't actually think it's
well,
right.
Maybe it's about degree as well. Maybe it's about, you know, the amount. You know, sorry, when we talked about Iceland, we meant the country, not the shop.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just about the extent to which he's done it. Maybe a few gags about your dad is always good, but maybe he feels like it's a sort of hate campaign. But I mean, there must be nothing worse than feeling like, you know, I mean, I don't know. I would be deeply upset if a family member decided to, I don't know, go to the public realms to kind of criticize me. I'd be absolutely annoyed. So yeah, I mean, and you know, Jimmy Carr is one for taking comedy right to the edge of things, isn't he? There's his dad. That's his dad there. That's his book. That's Jimmy Carr. I'm sort of explaining the obvious there.
You ought to be sued by your own dad.
That's about butter. That's not about Jimmy Carr's dad. What about this? Right. What about this? What about this? What's happened to my voice? Right, said Fred in dispute with Beyonce. Fucking hell. Right, said Fred have called Beyonce arrogant for using an element of their song I'm Too Sexy without contacting them. I'm sure she had to seek legal clearance to do it. Normally they say the artist approaches us, but Beyonce didn't because she's such an arrogant person. How do they know that? How do they know that? This one, reading books can make young people feel stupid, says Cressida Cowell. I thought this was interesting because it's easy to say all kids should read. But kids are brought up on a diet of visual stimulus even more than they ever used to be. And lots of kids with dyslexia will be able to connect with that content even more meaningfully than in the past. And Cressida Cowell, who wrote she's an author. She wrote How to Train Your Dragon. She says that young people who suffer from dyslexia and are used to watching TV may be put off reading books because they make them feel stupid. How can you love something that makes you feel stupid?
More understanding for people that actually have processing things that go on and like, you know, I mean, even with dyslexia, oh, look at that squirrel just sat there.
Oh, we got a squirrel.
Just looking at us.
Oh, bless.
You know, and they can read for hours and not actually be able to take anything in, not be able to process it. And I do think just this blanket, everyone should read and anyone who doesn't read is stupid and is missing out on the world. We just have to watch that a bit because there's not everybody, it doesn't work for everybody reading.
And I also,
and there's other ways to hear stories and to tell stories and, you know.
Yeah, and I don't think it's overly PC to say, to always bear in mind those who can. You know, that people often come out with these proclamations, don't they? Well, kids need to read more. There's often a reason. And in some ways, you know, storytelling and understanding the way in which stories are told can be, for example, film studies. You know, films can be a very useful way of understanding how stories are structured.
But obviously, there's no doubt that reading is a fabulous thing, and for children that don't have any of those, the more encouragement, the better. Oh, I just got 2 picture ones here now, just 2 lovely pictures. So this is Florence.
I forgot. Did I forget to take your photo of Florence?
That's Florence Pugh. Isn't that the most fantastic
Look at that
dress? That's Florence Pugh, who we all love in this house. We think she's a brilliant actress.
Do you think she's throwing a bit of shade over?
Well, I did wonder that because she sort of scurried up the red carpet for "Don't Worry, Darling" because of all the. But yeah, she's enjoying it there. It looks.
But also on the what I mean by that is on the red carpet. She went to great lengths to talk about how Sebastian Lello, the director of her new film, is such a supreme creator and visionary. I mean, it was almost like. Okay.
She didn't say anything about Don't Worry, Darling.
No.
And then my last photo, because I just love this so much. And in fact, we just not that kind of nut. That's so.
Oh, that's such
cute.
a lovely. Look at his little face.
Got squirrels.
Look at his little ears. He's got ears like Nanny Di. Oh, so cute. Okay, well, I'll just trot through these. You love squirrels. I am obsessed with. Can anyone guess what I used to love otters. Can you guess what my new creature comfort is? The creature I love the most, guys. Can you?
Hedgehog?
You're absolutely right. Prickly friends return after villagers go the whole hog. And they are so cute. And I posted a film on my stories a while back where someone put a pen in and they curl in and then it would hedgehogs. Hedgehogs. Anyway, look, these are the things that you can do to help a hedgehog in your garden. Build a hedgehog highway, host a hedgehog house and feed station, little barbecue, build a log pile, create a compost heap, leave a leaf pile. Don't tidy. That's a nice idea. I might do that at the end of the garden. Make a pond with a sloping edge. The only problem is, of course, the foxes will
The
come
rats
in.
love all of that as
Yeah,
well.
that's true. That's true. All right, forget that. All right. We're not going to encourage them. What do you think of this? Sunday lunch. Carvery serving Yorkshire puddings filled with ice cream. Is that
Of course.
a
Why not?
desert storm?
No, I mean, the other day we had some Yorkshire puddings left over, and I said, does anyone want maple syrup and ice cream with it? Because it's a pancake mixture. It's exactly the same mixture for a Yorkshire pudding as it is for a pancake. Did you know that?
No, yeah, I think I did. I think you told
Exactly
me
the
that.
same.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
anything you'd put on a pancake, you could put on a Yorkshire pudding.
Isn't that funny how it's sort of psychologically we have this block. It just feels like we can. Mayboo says put jam on it. I
remember years and years ago, I did a show for the BBC where we swapped families from different countries, and they would live in each other's house and have to live totally their life, eat their food and everything.
Right.
And so we swapped this family, French family swapped with the Brits. And everyone found it so hilarious that the French who had to, they had their weekly shop. And they got the Yorkshire puddings out, and never even considered that you'd have it with the meat and had it as a pudding. They just assumed it was a pudding and filled it with fruit and cream. And
cultural culinary mistakes. I hope Kay doesn't suffer from this. Waltz, all the fuss about Last Tango and Keeley. Court has banned these two from dancing noisily. A strictly loving couple have been banned from doing the tango in their home because they're causing a noise disturbance.
You can imagine how annoying that is.
I bet it is, especially if you can hear the sort of feet slapping against the floor. And final story, analog clocks are a test for exam pupils. I thought this was important because schools are having to install digital clocks because many kids are unable to tell the time on a traditional clock face. I just wanted to flag it up because a lot of people with dyslexia and various sort of, learning difficulties do struggle to tell the time. And I think there is an assumption that we could all tell the time easily. So I think that's interesting. Analog clocks, a test. I used to struggle with telling the time when I was young. I really did. Let me just see. Was there a story that? No, we're good. That's all. Oh no, final story. Yeah, this is a good one. You'll like this. Final picture story.
Julie Smith, you're right. It's really good for sore throat.
Final picture story. It'll be interesting to see if the algorithm picks this up. This guy went to the
Minky Moo, that'll be boring you. These banal stories remind me why I don't read the
Shops,
papers.
fruit flop. Well, how about that then, Minky Moo?
What about this one?
7-inch pear. Looks like a penis. So there you go.
Oh, it looks exactly like
Yeah, and in fact, the Daily Star says this is the real size. 7-inch actual size.
Oh, God.
Actual size.
Do you think he's cut that at the top?
It's curious, isn't it? It's curious. Anyway, there you go. I hope that sort of picked up the banality, Minky Moo. Anyway, guys, have a lovely Saturday. I don't know how much my voice is going to cope with doing a weekly rushes today. Might have to do it tomorrow. And I hope you have a lovely day.
Me too, Sandy. It took her ages to learn the time. I was always scared the teacher was going to tell you off. And that's the trouble. I think too often in schools, teachers just don't have the patience. I found it so difficult to learn the time. Yeah. But it's not a real thing, is it, time?
It's